Hello, everybody. It is day 4 of Checkly's very first launch week. And what does it mean? Well, a few weeks ago, we all came together and we looked at the product pipeline. We're like, hey, should we bundle all the new features that are coming up into a nice little package and release them in this one thing that we call a launch week? And this is exactly what we're doing here for the last 4 days. And in case you haven't heard of Checkly and you just came here by accident, you clicked the link or the YouTube feed gave it to you, let me tell you that Checkly is an active monitoring platform for developers. And this means that when you're building things for the web, that you can use Checkly to set up API monitoring and make sure that all your APIs are up and running, that they're online, that they're fast enough, that they're returning the right correct status codes and response bodies, and then start being a little bit calmer than all the things that you have online are actually working. And if you want to level it up a notch, you can also use Checkly's browser check feature to control headless Chrome using Playwright and test that your login flows, your add to cart actions, or whatever your websites are providing, that they're always up and running. And you can start shipping with confidence and be sure that all your things are running at all times. And over the entire week, we shipped a bunch of good things. So let me just do a quick recap here. So on the first day, Michelle showed us that you can now, when you receive an alert that something is broken, that you can now use our UI via your mobile phone and quickly gather all the information that you need to know to figure out if you need now to jump out of bed and go to your computer and fix something right away, or if it can maybe wait until tomorrow. So certain screens in the Checkly UI are now mobile responsive, which makes it a little bit easier to handle alerts. Then we had Umud there. And in the case of alerts, in case you didn't receive an alert and you want to debug what happened with OpsGenie or PagerDuty, and you want to have a look why you didn't a particular alert, you can now go to our new alert notification log to see what happened when we tried to reach you. Going on, we take security and privacy very seriously, and we were super proud and are still super happy that we're now officially SOC 2 compliant. And Kaylee and Daniel explained to me what this actually means and what we had to do to get there. Then, very important, if you want to give us feedback, if you want to chat with me or with the guests that we had during the week, or want to chat with Lisa, who will be online in just a moment here with me, you can join our new Slack community, which is available at checklyhq.com/Slack, and you can give us feedback and hang out, and we would love to connect over there. And lastly, yesterday, we had Antoine here, and Antoine showed me how our new Playwright test support works in Checkly. And if you're using Playwright, you might know that Playwright test comes with a few nifty additional features like videos, tracing, and that it's overall like a huge step in terms of developer experience to write solid end-to-end tests. And speaking about Playwright, I think Playwright is especially useful when you use it together with a new feature that goes into general availability today. So let me introduce you to today's guest, which is Lisa. Lisa, how's life?
It's great. How are you?
I am pretty good. I can tell you, though, it has been a very busy week, but it is good that there are so many good things that we were able to talk about. So what have you been working on over the last few months?
So over the last few months, we worked on a feature that was a lot of fun, and I think is really exciting, which is GitHub Sync. So you played around a little bit with it?
I played around with it a little bit, and let me tell you, there were also quite a few people that reached out to me and were like, "Hey, Stefan, how can we put browser checks into version control? How can we level up our game?" Because it was always possible to kind of create your browser checks in the Checkly UI, right? And while we always offered solutions like Pulumi or Terraform, like infrastructure as code solutions to kind of version control and roll out your browser checks, there was a little piece missing for a few folks. And this is where GitHub Sync comes into play, and I'm excited to see what it's about. Should we have a look?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So on the last day of this launch week, I take the opportunity to do shameless plugs. So what you see here is my own website, right? And on this website, I have very important functionality. So you see here, the 4.4 page of my website includes random dog videos.
Just
So what you
something.
see here, that there is an important button that always shows another one. So what I did is I went ahead, and I cannot look at it too much. So I
Telling.
went ahead. So I went ahead and I created a browser check for that because I really want to be certain that this functionality works. So what you see here is a browser check that uses playwright test, and I can run this, and it's grabbing the video sources and then just checks if the first video source is the same one as after you click the button. And you see here that this is working, and if we want to, we can watch another video. And I think this works good. But right now, this is only in the Checkly UI. So how could I put this into my own code base that runs my private website?
So that's the amazing thing about GitHub Sync because it makes it incredibly easy. And there are two aspects to GitHub Sync. And the first one is that we allow you to use your code that you've written on Checkly and you just demonstrated that it worked and push it directly to your GitHub repo very easily, actually. And the first step to do that is simply click on the Sync from GitHub button that is just above the editor. And here we can see you can simply pick a repo, pick the repo you want to work with.
Okay.
And that way we suggest a branch name and a file path, but of course you can change it to whatever works best for you. And all you need to do is click the Create Pull Request button.
All right. So this is the way to push it to GitHub. Shall we have a look?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This looks good to me. Should we just go the YOLO way of doing things here today?
Go for it. It's the best way. Merge without reviewing.
Exactly. Let's just YOLO merge this. And what I have here is also I have in my editor, I have the same project going here. And what I'm going to do is I will pull in the changes. So I'm doing a git pull, and we see now here the same file that was just running in Checkly. So what should we do next?
So I think the first step would be, since the goal is that you can have the same code on Checkly and locally, right? So let's make sure that it's actually working and try to run it.
Cool. Yeah, I think this is a crucial point, right? It doesn't make sense if I now just have a broken local environment. So we should make sure that this works here too. And this is a standard Playwright test project. So we have a Playwright config here and all the good stuff. So what you usually do is you run npx Playwright test, and hopefully we now see 2 passing tests. So I think this is cool. Okay, but it is not synced with Checkly yet, is it?
No, it's not. And that's, I think, like the even cooler part of the feature, which is what you can do is that you can link your Checkly check to your GitHub repo, to a specific file. And then every time you push to that GitHub repo and push changes to that file, we will actually automatically sync your Checkly check with it, and all the changes will be reflected. And it's really great. Wanna try it out?
Sounds like magic. Let's do this. So I'm going back to the browser check. So what should I do?
Super easy. Just go into the settings. And we have the GitHub integration section. And all you need to do is enable a sync code from GitHub. And again, you can pick the repo. And then you can customize it a little bit according to your need. You can sync when you're deploying, or of course, in our case, let's go for the sync when you're committing to a specific branch. You can pick the branch. It defaults to the main branch of your repo, but you can choose whatever works for you. And you need the file path, and that's all you need.
All right. I'm just going to do this. Let's apply and close it. Save it. What did just happen? What's up now?
So that's the great thing. Now your editor is in read-only mode. And what happens is that you don't need to actually change the code manually or copy paste any changes. Here, it gets updated automatically every time you push to GitHub.
Shall we push something?
Yeah, let's go.
So I will add you to my little browser check here because I heard you deserved it for being here today. So you're saying when I now add you as a comment here and I continue the YOLO way of deployment, so I'm going to add it, commit it, and push it. So this now automatically will be picked up by Checkly. So let's have a look. Let's do a refresh. Nice.
It's there.
Cool. This looks good. But is there more to the feature? I mean, this is already cool that I can push and can streamline all this functionality. But is there maybe some more functionality with GitHub Sync?
Yeah, there's definitely more. And I think there's more that is very useful for people who are working on large application and bigger code bases with more complex code that are using like helper function, local dependencies, and just any kind of code that you might want to import in your test to make it work. And we allow that. So you can really, in the script that you will link to your checkly check, import any kind of local file and code that will be useful to run your check.
This is honestly so cool, right? Because this means I only define the entry path, and then the rest is just, as Nico says, automatically pulled in. So should we pull something in?
Yeah, let's try it out.
I have another very, very serious file here, which lives in this constants file here, and we have a function that is in here that is called get favorite doc. So what I'm going to do is I will just, so that we're not breaking things live, I will just call get fav doc here, and I will keep you around here. And let's have a look what happens when we run this as here with the imported file. So we see here now that Navi is our favorite dog, and I heard that's your dog.
Yes.
So what we can now do is we can continue the YOLO way of doing things. So let's have a look at Checkly again. So we can have it here. I still think it's super cool. Every time I see this, it's also super snappy, right? I kind of love it. So when we now run this here, everything should still work. And we have Navi again. Well, Navi is on a roll here. But here's the question, Lisa. I now see, I come here, right? Maybe you develop this browser check, and I see that there's this get fav doc function coming from somewhere. How can I access this file? I don't know exactly. How do I find out what this is about?
Yeah, that's potentially a hassle, right? Having to go back and forth and trying to understand what the code is doing. We already invest too much energy in that. And we actually have a great feature then for that is if you click on the first icon of the editor sidebar, we have repo files, and we actually present the tree of the dependencies of your local files and the content. If you click on the file itself, you have access to the code that you're importing and using.
And we have some very serious programming here. But let me tell you, when you folks started working on this and I saw the first screens, right, for a real testing scenario, you would have like your entry script that requires the next entry script and making the other one because you're abstracting away setup scripts, tear down scripts, login flows, all these kind of things. And it looks so good when there are so many files in the Checkly editor. I think well, you all did a great job there. What's the other icon here?
So the other icon is the runtimes. And of course, I think anybody who has ever written a test knows that you will rely on a lot of libraries and dependencies and external packages and everything. And you actually have access to a whole bunch of them here, which Antoine already gave us like an intro yesterday. But you have access to Faker, to Playwright, and everything that Checkly provides in the runtime, you can see here and use in your test.
Yeah, this is definitely helpful because in the past I found myself kind of installing locally something, and then I had maybe a little version mismatch here and there. And these things are very, very hard to figure out because it takes a moment to discover, hey, I have a version mismatch, and that's why undefined is not a function, right? We've all been there.
Definitely.
Cool. So what we looked at were these two scenarios, right? To set things up, Checkly now with GitHub Sync allows you to kind of get the code that you already have up and running into GitHub by providing nifty PRs, but then you can establish all these development workflows to kind of really establish your local development flows as you want them to be, like with build pipelines, CI/CD, whatever you have to deploy your monitoring. You can keep everything nicely tidy and in sync together. Is there anything else that you would like to plug, Lisa?
Not right now. I think the thing we're really excited about now is to hear what our users think of the feature, how they use it, listen to some feedback, maybe some more ideas on how we can extend it, what we could add, what would make the life of the user easier. So yeah, I think that's it. That's the most important part. We would love to hear feedback.
Yeah, that is super true. So if you want to give us feedback, you can either hop onto our public roadmap, which is on GitHub, or as I already mentioned, you can go to our new Slack organization, checklist.com/Slack, and then you could reach out to me, you could reach out to Lisa, whatever is on your mind. If you have feedback, if you have feature requests, please let us know. And with this, thank you, Lisa, for joining. That was a nice doggified rundown of GitHub Sync, and we talk to each other in Slack, and I see you around. So with this, we can now finally wrap up, or this is a wrap for Checkly's very, very first launch week. And let me tell you, we've been busy. So over the last 4 days, we released mobile improvements, a new alert notification log, playwright test support, GitHub Sync finally goes GA, a new Slack community, and we are SOC 2 compliant. I hope that you enjoyed all these new features as much as I did. And if you have any questions, feedback, or just want to reach out, well, say hi in Slack. This was our very first launch week. And yeah, I think this is it from me for this week. We see each other at the next launch week. And I wish you all a very lovely weekend. See you around.